It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the owner and president of High Points Rockets, Pete Fischer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Brandon. Good to be here.
Can you talk about, of course, how you knew that you wanted to start a High Point Rockets?
Well, we're an independent team in the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball. And the Rockers actually started in 2000. Our first season was 2019. I started with them in March of 2020. When this opportunity arose for me to become a part of this team, it was a no-brainer because it's a great organization, a brand new stadium in High Point, North Carolina, with a new market. We're in the same market. High Point hasn't had professional baseball since the 1960s. But there's been baseball in neighboring Greensboro and Winston-Salem. So there was a void in High Point. And by this team coming on board in 2019, it kind of filled that void for the folks in this area. So I was fortunate to be asked to be president in March of 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit about a week later. So it kind of, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be, but it's a great opportunity, and this is a neighborhood and community that is hungry for professional baseball in their own backyard.
Can you talk about, of course, how with the pandemic happening and you coming in, how did that impact you?
Well, we were supposed to start our season at the end of April, and everything started shutting down in the middle of March. So we had everything ready, and we had to adjust very quickly. We're different than a lot of the other minor league teams in the state because we sign our own players. We don't have a major league affiliate that gives us players. We sign a lot of former major leaguers who are trying to get back to the major leagues. So we had all of these guys already signed to contracts. And when we were told we weren't going to play a season, we had to adjust and make sure we could get out of our contracts with players and figure out what direction we went in. So without playing a season, we hosted a lot of other events at our stadium, including baseball, softball. We had some comedy shows. We did kickball, a lot of different things at the stadium, so we could all keep active and we could keep the team going while we waited for the 2021 season to get here.
Can you talk about your career path and how it has led you to become the High Point president?
I started out, I knew I wanted to be in baseball since I was in junior high. Like everybody, I wanted to be a player, but once I realized I couldn't hit the curveball, I kind of realized I wasn't going to be a professional player. So my goal was, how could I stay around the sport or around sports in general? So when I was in high school, I worked for a team, the Albany-Colonie Yankees, who were the AA affiliate of the New York Yankees at the time in Albany, New York. And I worked with them and I really got the bug. I really realized I loved this and I wanted to stay with it. So when I graduated from college in 1989, my first opportunity was with a team in Columbus, Georgia. At the time, the Columbus team was the Columbus Mudcats. They were in Columbus, Georgia before they moved to Zebulon, North Carolina. So I was with them for 2 years there, and my first job was director of concessions. So I made sure all the food was hot and the beer was cold, and the lines weren't too long and all that stuff. So I kind of did that, and I realized I really like this. I want to stick with it. So from Columbus, Georgia, when the team moved to Zebulon, North Carolina, became the Carolina Mudcats, I moved with them. And I was there for 2 years. And then I got an opportunity to be the assistant general manager for the Hickory Crawdads in the South Atlantic League. So I moved from Zebulon to Hickory and was there for 2 years. So I opened up a new stadium, and we named the team the Crawdads, and had a great 2 years. But then I was offered the opportunity to become general manager of the team in Winston-Salem. So I took that, and I was there for 9 years. And I loved it there, but I wanted to try something different. So for about 10 years, I worked in professional golf and did that. And from there, I was able to get an opportunity to work in collegiate athletics at Wake Forest University in the athletic department. But at all this time, baseball kept calling me back. I wanted to get back to baseball. And when the High Point Rockers opportunity arose last year, I thought about it. And then I said, nah, I don't want to do that. And then I thought about it again. And then somebody called me, and I sat down and interviewed with them. And when I saw the stadium and I met the staff and I talked to everybody involved, I thought, this is where I want to be. This is a great location, and there's a lot of opportunity here. So basically, in my 30 years of working in sports, I've pretty much done every position. I've been the cook. I've done sales. I've worked in golf. I've worked in collegiate athletics. So I like to think that if I hire somebody and ask them to do something, I'm not asking them to do something I already haven't done, because I've done it somewhere along the line over my past, the past 3 decades. So I've been doing this for a little over 30 years.
That's amazing. Can you talk about, you said that you brought the Hickory Crawdads to Hickory. What was that process like of bringing a team?
Well, the Hickory Crawdads, before they played in Hickory, they were the Gastonia team, Gastonia Rangers. And the owner of the Hickory team, he bought the Gastonia team, and then he moved it to Hickory for the 1993 season. So my staff, we had to come up with a name, a logo. The stadium wasn't even built yet. It was being built. So we had to figure out what we were going to sell for tickets, everything from scratch, from ground zero. And when we named it the Crawdads, that was one of our top choices. And we picked that one, and there were a lot of people that didn't like it, because people have, they're very proud of their cities, and they thought Crawdads was a disgrace. It wasn't a very good name. But as soon as it became popular, and as soon as we started selling a lot of merchandise, and as soon as people started talking about it, everybody said, yeah, that's not a bad name. I like that name. So it kind of changed their mindset, because they saw baseball is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be, if you want to have to, dress up and be fancy, then go to the country club. We're not the country club. We're the ballpark. So you're supposed to be able to come to the ballpark and relax and unwind and have a hot dog or a beer or a soft drink. And that's kind of where we came up with the name Crawdads, because it was fun. It was carefree. It was creative, and people liked it. So I started with the Mudcats, then I became a Crawdad, and then I went from there to become a Warthog in Winston-Salem. So I always told people I didn't know if I was going up the food chain or down the food chain, because I went from a catfish to a miniature lobster to a wild pig. But it was fun all along the way. It's been fun, and this is, if you really want to be in baseball, you figure out how to make it happen, and you stick with it. And I've stuck with it for years. I still can't hit the curveball, but it doesn't matter now.
Can you talk about, of course, how the Hickory Rockets, what their operation is?
Well, like I mentioned, we're a independent team in the Atlantic League. So which that means our league has an affiliation with Major League Baseball, but each team does not have an affiliation. So all of our guys are free agents. So our goal is to win, and also to get our guys opportunities to sign contracts with major leagues, with different organizations. So we operate a 4,500 seat stadium, and it has artificial grass, so it's AstroTurf. So we can do a lot of other events on the field, and we're responsible for that. So this past weekend, we had a soccer tournament on the field. And next weekend, we have High Point University and University of North Carolina, Greensboro are playing baseball out here. And we've had football practices out here. So we joke that we've had a football team practice on a baseball field that has lines for soccer. So we cover it all. We're going to have disc golf out here in a few weeks. We've had all these different things. So that's how our operation works. We operate the stadium and the team. We operate them both. So right now we're preparing for a season that will start in May, end of May. But at the same time, we're also looking at other opportunities for events at the stadium, concerts, festivals, soccer, everything like that. So, anything like that we're trying to do. So we have a staff right now of about 10 or 11 people, which is relatively small for something this size, but we didn't add during the pandemic. And now, as we see things breaking, we'll probably start to add some positions and grow that staff so we can have a greater footprint in the community.
What is the day-to-day game day like for the for the High Point Rockets?
Well, the day-to-day, we basically have on a game day, you're getting here first thing in the morning and you're making sure the stadium's ready. You got to look and see what you're going to have for a crowd that night. We'll usually have a staff meeting to make sure everybody knows what to expect that evening. Your players will start getting here early afternoon for workouts and batting practice and so on. Then you usually open, you'll open up your gates sometime about 6 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game and start to get everybody in. The one thing we don't have to worry about is weather, which is great because we have artificial turf. So we don't have to cover the field. We have no dirt out there. Our pitching mound is artificial and our home plate is artificial turf. So we don't have to worry about weather. So that takes an element out of it. But, that's our day to day. And then the next day when you have a game, you start all over again. You might get out of here at midnight or 1 a.m. and you're back again the next morning at 8 or 9 a.m. ready to go again. I always compare it to when we have games, it's like we have 70 home games. It's like we're throwing 70 parties and we don't know how many guests are going to come. We don't know who our guests are going to be, but we've got to make sure we put on a show. We have it's an enjoyable experience at that party.
Can you talk about, of course, what the game day atmosphere is like and some of your traditions for the High Point Rockets?
Well, the game day atmosphere, and they go together. We're still creating our game day atmosphere. We're still creating our traditions because we've only had one season. 2019 was our first season, and 2020 was going to be our second season, and it was canceled. So we're still creating all of that. So you have a market here who's never been to. They don't know what to expect. So we're creating that as we go along. So to answer that, to kind of keep it simple, we don't have a lot of traditions yet because traditions, I think, have to happen organically. You can't say, hey, Brandon, this is going to be a tradition. Start right now. It has to happen. And that's where that's the beauty about baseball, because as you're playing, traditions just kind of evolve, and that's what we're working on. That they'll organically evolve over 2 or 3 years, and that's when we'll have those traditions.
What are some of the notable things that would happen in a High Point Rockets game?
Well, the one thing is this facility is very open. It's you have the ability to wander around the whole concourse very easily. As you look out into the outfield, downtown is developing in front of our eyes. There's office complex being built in right field, and in center field they're building offices with a food hall, so you can watch all of that here too. So unique things we have been pet friendly, so we allow dogs at games. You can bring your 4-legged friend to the game with you. We've got a little park in left field that has a splash pad that the kids can play on, and a climbing rock. Those are all things that we didn't anticipate, but the city added them to the ballpark. We pride ourselves in our food and in our affordable pricing. Those are all parts of the experience here. We have, you're very close to the action. you're not far away like some bigger stadiums. You're right on top of it. 4,500 seats is the perfect size for this market. So, I will say when you come here, you're going to have a good time. You're going to enjoy yourself, and you're going to be very surprised because we're a very well kept secret, and we got to get the word out about it.
Who are some teams that y'all play in y'all's conference?
Well, our league is up and down the East Coast. It used to be a little further away, but they've changed it this year with things. So in our league, we have the two teams in Pennsylvania. We have the York Revolution and the Lancaster Barnstormers. In Maryland, we have the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. And in Long Island, you have the Long Island Ducks. That's 4 teams up north. In the Southern Division, you have our team, the High Point Rockers, a team in Gastonia, the Gastonia Honey Hunters, and they're going to be our rival. They're new this year, but they're 90 miles away. And then you have the Lexington Legends in Lexington, Kentucky. And the league is expected to add one more team that would make it a total of 8. And the idea is in 2022, they would expand to 10. And then in 2023, they would expand to 12. And it's up and down the East Coast. So our league is comparable in play to like AAA baseball. So we've got a lot of guys who are a little older, probably late 20s, early 30s. They've played in the major leagues. We just signed a guy that played with the Philadelphia Phillies in 2018 and 19. And he only got one major league hit, but it was a 2-run home run off the Marlins. So, and we just signed a player today who pitched in 12 games in the big leagues with the Cleveland Indians. So we're getting a lot of these guys that kind of are not what they weren't the superstars at the major league level, but they've got enough talent to get there and they want to get back. So they're very serious about it.
Can you talk about that process of signing players that were former MLB players?
Yeah, so we, again, unlike some of the affiliated clubs, our manager actually works for us, not for the major league affiliate. So we have a manager, Jamie Keefe. He's been in independent baseball for 15 years, and we keep him on contract all year long because all year he's talking to players, he's talking to agents, he's trying to see if they'd like to come and play in High Point. So he's out going to watch these guys work out. He's talking to other people in the industry and getting them to tell him about guys. And so we'll sign a guy, but we always understand our goal is we want to give him a place to play so he can get noticed, so he can get signed to a major league contract again, or to a contract with another professional league. We had a player that we had signed already for 2020, and the Italian National Baseball Federation signed him to a contract to play professionally in Italy. So that's a good move for him. So that's how the process works. So when Jamie Keefe finds a player, he negotiates with him and then sends us the details, and we send him a contract. He gets that contract signed. We get the contract. It gets sent to the league office, and the league office approves it. And then once they approve it, then it's official. And then we put it on social media and we share it with everybody.
Of course, with your type of baseball and stuff, how important is it whenever you have players that come and go, unlike, let's say, the minor league, where you might have those players for a certain amount of time to help develop them to make it to the major league?
Well, our guys, a lot of our guys are going to stick with us the whole season unless they get called by a major league club or an international club to play. So there's not as much turnover here as one would think. There's a lot of guys that come and they stay with us. Now, some of the guys may come and play with us. Then they realize, you know what, I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm getting too old, and they retire. So we run into that a lot, but we don't have as much movement because we don't have a team above us or below us where we can send guys. They're here and they either stay here or they get an opportunity elsewhere, or they get released. So that's kind of how we look at it.
What advice would you give upcoming business owners and even people looking to get into professional sports?
I think the thing is, if you want to get into professional sports, don't let people talk you out of it. Figure out how it happens, figure out how you can make it work, and go forward with it. But also remember, you're going to have to work hard doing it. you have to be dedicated to what you do. And there's going to be times you're not going to make a lot of money. You're going to be doing some jobs that you wonder why you're doing them. But at the end of the day, if it's what you want to do, you figure out how to make it a living, how to make a living doing it and make it a career. And it's an opportunity to pursue a passion and do something you love. So stick with it. There's a lot of people that get into this business and then they don't make good money the first 2 years and they say, you know what, I'm going to move on to something else. But if you stick with it, good things happen. And I've been able to stick with it for over 30 years. And I have loved every minute of it and I don't have any regrets.
That's wonderful. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with High Point Rockets at?
Well, you can find us on social media at we're on Twitter at Rockers Baseball. And I'm at Pete Fisch 552 on Twitter, but also you can find us similarly on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook as well.
Thank you again, Pete, for your interview and best of luck in this upcoming season with the.
Thanks, Brandon. Come to a game if you can.
Sounds good.
We'll see you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brand, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview and best of luck.
Thanks, Brandon.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.